What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Blood and Beer, the show where we talk blood sport. And we seldomly drink beer on this show anymore, it seems, but I've been sick. Cody's been not feeling well, so today we got an Arizona watermelon fruit juice cocktail. And Cody's sipping on some Pepsi. All right, we're coming off of a card that happened in UFC Seattle. It actually, for as much fell out of it, it was a fun card to watch. The main event was weird, but we're coming off of that. We're previewing Kape versus Almabaev, the main card today, making our bets as always. 1,000 up, 1,000 down. Speaking of the thousands, last week I went positive 160 on my thousand, bringing my total year to date. We're up 1497. And then Cody, he had a rough week. His first negative week since we started doing this. He went down 381, so his year to date's at 683. So I'm growing that margin, baby. But I've just been kind of floating after a couple good weeks. I've just been floating along, and Cody had a couple good weeks. He was catching me, and now we're back to where we should be, where I'm in a firm command.
Yeah.
I tell you though, I'm not confident this week on my bets because this card was hard to bet. This card was it's hard to bet, man. There's some that I like. There's some bets I really like on this card. There's some where I'm like, gotta pull some teeth to force me to do it because
There's some difficult ones for sure
well,
on this card, man. There's some difficult ones on this card.
there are. How you doing though? Other than a tough week betting, you had a really good weekend other than your UFC bets. You're killing it.
Yeah, that weekend I did pretty solid. I had a $1,400 weekend. Magically hit on the Daytona 500 somehow. Beans, Rice, Jesus Christ, and William Byron. Um, Fucking hit on some college basketball bets. Smacked on a couple UFC single bets. Just up the whole weekend. But it's been kind of been like the market this week.
Yeah, it's been
Just I've been kind of coming back to earth a little bit,
yeah, it
keeping
always
my butt.
back. You get a big positive week, and they're like, "Oh yeah, put some more up, buddy. We're gonna."
Yeah, they made some calls on me this week. I swear it feels like.
Well, other than the UFC Seattle card, what we're gonna jump into first is a couple of announcements. Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree. That's gonna be nuts. Can't wait for that. That's a fight night happening before 3:15, and then also 3:13 loses its co-main event with Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. We have a ton of fighters offering their services to step in. We got Matus Gamrot. We got Rafael Fizzier calling for a rematch. We got Rodnato Moicano coming off his title shot against Makhachev. And then we're also hearing rumors it could be Dustin Poirier's retirement fight. He might step in 2 weeks' notice and take that. I'm also hearing people call for Arman Sarukian because he pulled out of the title shot. If you want to get back there, you take a 2 week notice fight against a bad man like Justin Gaethje, and that'll get you right there. Win against Gaethje gets you that title shot, and he needs something significant right now. And 2 weeks notice, anyway, you beat Gaethje. It's good. So that's the fight that should happen. The one I want to see is Fiziev and Gaethje because the first one was just fireworks. It was awesome. What do you think? Who do you want to see Gaethje fight though? Who out of those guys, or is there someone else you're kind of hoping that?
So I think honestly, the way it's going off by the way the social media is talking, it might be Poirier just because of the availability and the money talks. But I might be on the same page with you right here with the disease, dude. Like you said, it was fireworks, and I think with it being a second fight, I think both fighters would have a more understanding of each other, and I just think it would be an electric co-main event. Honestly, coming on a 2 weeks notice, I think he'd be coming in even more hungry, knowing that he's coming in against somebody he knows. And Gaethje, I think it would be even more fireworks in the first fight. I think there would be some bad blood. I think they could get some the shit talking in real quick and some promos this week. I think it could be real, but it's just up to Dana get the contracts down and get everybody settled real quick.
Right. And for Gaethje, if he plans on continuing to fight and go towards that title shot, yeah, he's coming off a loss to Max Holloway, but that was a badass fight, and he was kicking ass before that. For him, it's going to be tough if he takes a fight against a Gamrot who's lost a couple, against a Moicano who's ranked a lot lower. Granted, he's coming off the title shot, he's a lot lower in the division, or even Fiziev who's also ranked a lot lower and he's already beat it. doesn't give it's not as much reward for him if he wins it, but man, it'd be a great fight. And if it's a 3 rounder, I'd favor Fiziev in that one because even with the 2 weeks notice, the dude's a firecracker. He comes out, he's just throwing, and he's nasty, vicious. I think Gaethje would be able to outlast him, but like you said, the first one was a 3 rounder, and Fiziev kind of got figured out as the fight went on. Now that they know each other, I think Fiziev might be able to step it up, figure out where he was getting caught, and adjust. 3 rounder, I like Fiziev in that. 5 rounder, I'd probably still take Gaethje because I think he could outlast him. But yeah, that sucks that fight's out because Dan Hooker versus Gaethje would have been awesome. 5 rounder. I mean, that would have just
For
been
a co-main event, dude, that'd have been nasty.
yeah, that would have been awesome. That was every fan's dream. But Fiziev's not a bad runner up, and Poirier and him put on awesome fights. So I mean, it would be awesome to watch him run it back. Third time, it's a squash match. They each got one knockout apiece on the other, so it settles the score. But and I also like that in the sense where I've been talking about the UFC moving on from these older guys. You have two older guys fight, it kind of takes Gaethje out, tells you are just fun fights now, and that's fine. You can still fight top guys as just fun fights, but it stops us getting these guys getting 2, 3, 4 title shots in 3 years and just blocking out the lower end of the division. But they're not really the lower end. It's just the young guys that kind of get bad matchups or what have you. But it'd be better for youth, I guess, if for the youth movement if Poirier and Gaethje fought because it takes Gaethje out of that, especially if Poirier wins and retires. Then Gaethje's definitely out of that title shot. And if he wins, yeah, you beat Poirier, who just put on a great fight against Makhachev. But at the same time, it's Poirier who's older. It's his retirement fight. And once he's gone, people are going to be like, all right, you haven't beat anybody in the top lately other than Michael Chandler. And
And I got to completely agree with you here because, I mean, like you just said, it kind of blocks out and it makes you kind of forget about these up and comers that, yeah, they might lose one or two fights, but you're holding on to a 37-year-old or a 38-year-old when you have a 27 or a 26-year-old that might have lost two fights that's fallen down in the rankings, but they just might have not found their elite form yet or their physical prime, and you're not allowing them to get those higher end fights. You're not letting them get to fight I don't excuse me, an Nurmagomedov coming up, or anything like that, or like an Armu Nurmagomedov or something like that, where you can have a challenge to come up and get up in the rankings. But if you're just going to have a consistent Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, or a Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, or if you're going to have Nate Diaz come in or anything like that, it blocks the opportunities for these younger upper comers that have been in the contender series, that are coming out of Synergy, that are coming out of Combat, they're coming out of PFL, that are just trying to get the chances.
especially if you're
And
playing a guy like Diaz, because if Diaz wins that and gets a ranking, he's going to hold on to that motherfucker.
oh my God, I know.
And he'll go and get beat up by somebody for a little bit and gas him out and choke him out. Some young guy that he knows he can do that too because he's durable. I love Diaz, but that would suck for trying the youth movement. He's like the opposite end of the Poirier thing. If you beat Diaz, you gain nothing from it really. And that's awesome because that takes you out of it. But if you lose to Diaz, you just fucked up the game, buddy.
There's just so many physical freaks in the younger crowd right now, and they're all like they're not southpaw fighters. They're not traditional. They're all orthodox. You don't know what the heck their stance is going to be.
Yeah,
It's it's
you got
it's
Fiziev.
mystery games. It's insane. You have a lot of crazy ground games. You have a lot of crazy grappling games. You have a lot of crazy leg kick games. Double spinning back fists. I mean, it's insane what the hell the younger crowd's doing now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Fiziev, who's just a nasty Muay Thai kickboxer, and then you got Gamrot, who's just a vicious grappler that's going to be just going at you the whole time. You got these younger guys, and Gamrot, I guess, isn't younger anymore, but these guys that have been coming up and they get these big win streaks, but they can't get the top guys because the top guys aren't fighting them. Or when they do, they know that they have an advantage in the situation where it's short notice and the guy's coming in and it's been held up for so long. The only top 10 lightweight right now is Arman Sarukian. I don't even know how we got on this tangent, but Arman Sarukian is the only top 10 lightweight under the age of 30 right now. The average age in the top 10 is like 33.
And that just seems like a problem. Either we need to have some people drop down some weight, or we need to have a couple of flyweights come up
Yeah, because I mean,
and a couple of bantams come up.
I just think we need to move towards more fun, gimmicky fights. Like, why not? Put on awesome fights. The Dan Hooker Gaethje fight. Yeah, there could have been title shot implications eventually down the line. Forget the guys, but that's just a fun fight. That's what we need to do. Just who cares? Just fun fight. This guy coming up, he's a beast. He's a nasty striker that leaves his chin open. Let's put him up against a Gaethje. Like, who cares if he's ranked 11 or just
It's fireworks. It's money that's going to sell the card.
exactly. But yeah, that's what's in the news. And we didn't even talk about Khalil and Jamal getting booked. That's going to be an awesome fight. That's an awesome card. But we're coming off UFC Seattle, as I mentioned minutes and minutes and minutes ago. Ended weirdly. Cejudo loses a technical decision to Song Yadong from an eye poke. I don't know where Cejudo. Where do you think Cejudo goes from here?
Uh, I mean, it's hinting at like retirement, or because what sucks is the ref could have called that fight in round three
No comment.
and could have given a no contest where this loss wouldn't have really put a hinder on his record and made it more difficult for him to get a bigger fight. But now he's 38 years old. He's going to be coming up on 39. I think his best thing is he just, like we just talked about, some big name fights, just some fun fights to get him out there. But I seen something deep on Reddit earlier, and I don't know how truthful it is, but they're usually UFC holds a couple events in Brazil every year, and I think for Cejudo, I think the best thing for him maybe right now is to try and maybe get a co-main event in Brazil against Jose Aldo. That'd be selling some tickets. That'd be selling some cards. Just get some names out there, especially with Jose Aldo being in his home country. It'd be awesome. But for Cejudo, it's either just get a couple big name fights, honestly, or I think with you coming off a 3 year hiatus and now you're what is this, three losses in a row?
Yeah.
It Yeah, it's not looking hot for you right now. And at 38, like we just literally just talked about, we can't keep holding these older guys in. We got to start letting them go, giving the younger guys a shot, because eventually you're holding back the next big star.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we saw here with 27-year-old Song Yadong getting the shot to fight Henry Cejudo. Song Yadong, who's gotten close to the top five but keeps getting knocked down, gets to fight a 38-year-old Cejudo that's holding that position. And Song looked good in this fight. Um, do you think Song gained anything at all from this fight though? Because even though he looked good with the ending, yeah, I'm with you. It seems like if it would have ended by decision, TKO, any other way for him, he had the fight won if he stayed alive the whole fit 25 minutes. But I just don't see him gaining anything from this win. Yeah, because it was indecisive, it's muddy, and people don't like these decisions with a cloud over their head. So I think he's gonna have to fight a guy that's. I think he's gonna have to fight a guy. I don't even know who you give him because Figueiredo's booked. Sandhagen's beat him.
Maybe I don't know, and he moved up in the rankings too. It's like how do we put him? How do
Well, I
I
see
don't
how you move him up because Henry should have been moved down after that performance because even though he didn't look bad, he was getting beat up. He was getting beat. So like, it makes sense to adjust the rankings because I'm not one.
maybe Nurmagomedov? I'm not really too positive here.
That's a yeah. That fight was booked once before, and they had to cancel it because they gave Nurmagomedov the title shot. That wouldn't. I've heard that floating around. That wouldn't be a terrible pick,
No, that wouldn't be a bad co-main event on maybe like say like 316, 317.
but I feel like that's still kind of a rewarding song, even though Nurmagomedov's coming off a loss. Like rewarding him with, I don't know. I guess it's not rewarding because you're getting a Nurmagomedov.
And coming off a no contest. I'm calling it a no
Yeah, I
contest.
mean, coming off what you have,
A
it
medical
looks
stoppage.
the fans that watched it, it looks the same as a no contest, even though he was dominant and he was winning the fight. It, yeah. So I'm with you. I don't think he gained anything from this. I think there was a lot to gain. Like I said, going into this, we both said you could get a title shot if you have a super nasty finish, but it ends like this.
Question. Well, not question. Isn't it ironic that they go back to the old gloves, and the first weekend they go back to the old gloves, the main event is stopped with a finger poke to the eye.
I think that the eye poke is more of a discipline thing because they've had those gloves since the beginning, and that
I
wasn't.
could I completely agree. And like, did you? I don't know if you were read Jim Miller's comment about it,
Yeah, I was
about
going to
how
bring that up. I'm not going
there
to
needs
pull it.
there, they need penalties. Like there needs to be like you need to be losing a point or two on these if like you're going to be poking an eye out or
I'm absolutely with you because they don't take points. They don't the fouls in this game. It's I've heard other people say this, but in the NFL, could you imagine if the Chiefs and the Bills are playing and the Chiefs just grab the Mike Davis or someone running down running towards a post and pass interference and they throw the flag and then they go up and they say, "Hey, that was a pass interference. This is going to be a hard warning. Don't do it again. We're gonna keep the play as it stands."
yeah, no, you're going to get penalized, or it's like you go up and you're going to grab Mahomes' face mask and rip him to the ground and torque his neck. Not only they're going to penalize you in the game, then they're going to penalize your contract, not like your paycheck, like they
Right.
should in the UFC. I think if like you now don't like take away too much of the purse, obviously just do a percentage like how they would do in the NFL. Like you get a 10,000 like do a $10,000 fine for ripping your face like on a face mask, or something. Like if you poke an eye out, you're a disciplined fighter. You should not be going in for a slap or anything like that.
See, I'm not opposed to the slaps, but it's when people are defending with their hands like this. You
No,
can,
and they have the curled fingers. Yeah, you don't need to have your curled fingers. What you got arthritis or something? I don't understand.
because if you're in the stand up, I get they want to grab, but if you're planning to strike, you should never be extending with your fingers extended like that. Like in boxing, it's easier because your hands are always closed, and so the guys that are actual boxers that go to the UFC that have a boxing background, you don't see it as much because their hands are closed. And when they
Right.
pick punches, they punch the punch down with the palm of their hand. That's how I was always trained to do it with my parry, but it's different for each fighter because it's hard to do that if you don't have the range. So it's harder to keep the fist down because if your hand's open, you can kind of use it as a feeler. But at the same time, you have to realize that's a foul. The reason they don't teach these guys not to do it is because nobody ever gets penalized. So what's the point of working on that in the gym, being like, hey, don't forget to keep your fingers closed. Like, don't.
I know I could be coming at you, charging at you, giving you a couple freaking punches, coming at you, throwing some hooks, and all you gotta do is have one hand out, guarding like this, trying to block a punch, and I just
Yeah, and you're gonna run right into it and look at his eye. But yeah, I don't know.
I just thought that it just crossed my mind a second ago. It's like, wow, they got rid of those gloves to help keep the fingers in.
I don't think those gloves help though. I think
No,
that
they didn't, and I feel like they were limiting fighters.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seemed like they hurt the fighters. It seemed like people had trouble grappling in them, and knockouts were down big number. It was like it went from I
I know
think
our finishes were hitting the unders every week.
yeah I think went from 37% finish rate or something like that down to 24 for knockouts, and it's like that's bad. That that's a significant number that you can look at in 1 year and be like, oh wow, it's not because people are getting better. People are absorbing a lot more shots and it's just not doing as much. So those gloves were probably a lot safer and a lot better for the fighters, but it was worse for the product, and that's what people care about. Sounds vain to say, but is what it is. So we'll move on to this fight night we have coming up. Before we do the main card breakdown, though, we do have the main card to discuss with Kape and Almabaev. Both of the guys, I believe, top 10. Almabaev stepping in short notice. Um, does a win here move either of these guys into the title picture as the number one contender, do you think?
Um, a win does not put you in title contention yet. I think for either fighter, because I think for either fighter, no matter what, you have to get through either Moreno, I think you have to get through Albazi, or I think you have to get through Tara. I think those are the three fighters that are ahead of you in the division that I still think you have to get ahead of before you get to the title fight because those guys have to get through somebody to get to the title. So if you do, I think you have to get through one of those three to be able to be in that contention.
See, for Almabaev, I don't think a win puts him there, but for Kape, I think it does
No,
because
Almabayev, no, because he's too fresh into the UFC.
Right. But Pantoja has cleaned out that division. And when you look at the layout of where it's at now, Pantoja's fought Kopp in Kopp's promotional debut and won a decision. It was close, but Pantoja won. Since then, Kopp's been on a pretty big tear. Lost the fight to Makayev, but UFC's people have been pushing for this dude to get a title shot. He's flashy. He went out there and just stunned on Bruno Silva in his last fight. He's entertaining, and since Tyra's coming off a loss, and we have Albazi coming off a loss to Moreno, I think that they're out of the title picture before two more wins because Albazi took a huge break before this fight due to injury. So he's going to have to come back and put a couple wins together to get in that title shot. And Tyra, I think he needs a couple as well because of how he got beat by Brandon Royval. And then for the other guys ahead of him, Moreno and Royval pulled out of this fight because of the concussion issue. But also, he's lost to Pantoja twice in pretty convincing fashion both times. Moreno's also lost to Pantoja three times. So they're not going to be eager to book that rematch. I think that what we might see after Moreno and Urseg, maybe Moreno versus Royval, and they are if Pantoja is no longer champion, it might not be Kopp. But if Pantoja is no longer champion, then one of those guys can move in to fight for the title. But it's just in such a logjam right now because Pantoja's cleaned out the division. And because of that, I think you could move Kopp to the front of the line if he has a good win here over a dominant wrestler like Almabaev.
I see what you're thinking there, and I kind of like the way you're going because I really didn't. I didn't. Obviously, going into it, I didn't think about the three losses for Moreno, and the two losses
Royval.
for Royval, yeah. And then on top of that, this was supposed to be his fight,
Yeah.
so it's not. We were wanting to see the Royval cop fight, but he backed out, like you said, for the concussion problem. So like you just ended with, it depends on if he puts on a good fight. If he puts on an absolute bombing like he did against Bueno Silva, then I don't see why not. I mean, just let him hop over the roadblock that's in that division. Give him the shot. If it
He's
don't work
entertaining.
out,
He's flashy. He's good on the mic. He's funny. Like the dude's dynamic. He could be a star at 125, but he just needs to get that shot. And Pantoja is a beast. So that wouldn't be a rematch they'd hate to rebook because like I said, it was his promotional debut with Kopp and Pantoja. It was a close fight. So I wouldn't hate that. But other than we've talked about this for a long time on this card. It's a card. It's a fight night and it's happening in the Apex and you can tell by the lineup on the card. But is there any fights that stand out to you that excite you other than this main event?
yeah, I think it's the Nazareth Haqparast
Yeah,
versus the
Reebok.
Esteban Ribovic fight. Yeah, I just think that because one is just going to be an absolute war. I think it's going to be an entertaining war because they're just a strike fest. They don't go to the ground. They don't sub. Dude, we'll get into it later, but with the stats and shit. But like these two just go at it. It's fun. They both got chins. I just think for being on the main card, it's like co main event. I think is what it is.
Yeah,
It's like third fight from the main.
feature.
Dude, it could be co main event, dude. It's pretty freaking solid of a fight, man.
I would argue it,
I think it's better than the Cody Brundage Julian Marquez fight. You know.
I would argue it's a much better fight than that. I'm gonna move down the card just one more to Hyder Emil versus William Gomi. Cannot
Okay.
wait for this fight. So Hyder Emil's a fucking berserker. Yeah, just last fight, 38 punch combo to get the finish. He hasn't really fought anybody great in the UFC, but the guy's undefeated. He's a little older and he's always slighted. So I'm loving this dude in this fight. I'm loving the fight in general because if it's not that, then Gomi's probably gonna pick him apart with a kickboxing like masterclass. But I just think it's going to be fun either way. We're going to see a fun finish one way or another because Gomi will be able to set up something tricky from the outside if he can gas him, and Emil's going to be just pushing forward and in his face the whole time. So yeah, not a ton to talk about other than breaking down this main card. But we've got past this, we've got the golden land in front of us. We've got three awesome pay-per-views. We've got a lot of awesome fight nights. What pay-per-view and what fight night are you most excited for coming up?
314's pretty freaking loaded. The pay-per-view there is just absolutely nasty. Um, Patty Pumblett, I'm always excited to watch him. Um, Valentina's not fighting on that one, is she? No.
315.
315. That's what she's fighting on. Um, I think with the star-studded one, I'm gonna have to go back and look at it because we've been talking so much, and it's all
I
the
got
fighters are off my brain.
I got you real quick. You got Lopez versus Volkanovski, Pimblett versus
Right.
Chandler, Pitbull versus Rodriguez. Um, oh shit, that's the top three. I mean, that's enough to sell me. But the one that got me sold, because I'll say mine right now. It's 314 without a doubt. They put Jean Silva versus Bryce Mitchell on this.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, Lord Jean Silva coming for that skull. So I hope Bryce doesn't wrestle fuck him, but that's gonna be a fight, dude.
Dude, any card that Diego Lopez is on, I'm gonna watch. I mean, I'll give you a
Lopez,
freaking
Volk, and now you got my favorite fighter in Jean Silva.
dude.
So,
Open up the prelims too, man. That's awesome.
oh, and you got like Jandaroba versus Yan Xiaonan. Um, I mean, the card is just stacked. That we went through, and I think the top 7 or 8 fights we said, oh, you got Woodson versus Ige. We said though the top 7 or 8 fights you could probably put as a main event on UFC Apex for almost all of them, if not the main event, a co-main event on a really good fight night. So, what fight night are you most pumped for?
The fight that I'm most pumped for is gonna be the one right around that time frame. Is gonna be Edwards and Brady fight
Yeah,
night over there, dude. Over there in London, man. He's got John Blachowicz versus Carlos Oberg.
that'll be awesome.
Banger of a fight, dude. Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin Holland. Banger of a fight. I always love that dude. And Molly McCann's on the card.
Yeah,
Who's
she's
not a
fun.
fan of Molly McCann, dude? She's fun as fuck to watch, man. So
Back
like
in
I
it's her arm broke off.
dude,
Like,
I've always been a massive fan of Molly McCann, dude. I think she's an awesome fighter. So I just think for a fight night, I think one, for me and you both, we kind of agree. Kind of just want to see Leon Edwards just get his ass kicked. Like just for the fun of it, man. Can't stand him. He's
yeah,
just pushing him in our face. But you know what? I think this is gonna be the card we're gonna watch him get his ass kicked.
you
And
can
I'm
get
pumped for it.
yeah. I uh I had to I had Urseg versus Moreno picked. A bunch of Mexican fighters on there. You got Sleepy Boy on there or Lazy Boy. You got oh man, I can't even remember the card now because I got so distracted when I saw they announced Khalil Roundtree versus Jamal Hill fight night, which is going to be nuts. I wish I knew where my phone was to pull up the whole card, but it's got those two. It's got Anthony Smith versus Minyang Zhang. Let me see the other one because it's only got about 5 fights announced right now, but they are 5 fucking bangers. So Giga Chikadze versus David Onama, Michelle Pereira versus Abus Magomedov, and Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. That card is stacked. And then the Moreno Urseg card, that's Manuel Torres, Drew Dober, Kelvin Gastelum versus B. Joe Pfeiffer. That card's just fun as hell. Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Kevin Bioras. It's going to be awesome. So, yeah, we'll move on. We're going to break down the main card. One more question before we do. 13 fights over or under 5.5 finishes after 7 finishes on the prelims, 8 finishes overall on UFC Seattle.
I'm gonna go under this week.
Okay.
Oh, we've hit the over the last 2 weeks. I think I'm gonna go under this week. I see a lot of these fights going to the distance, being in 3 minutes. I I don't know a lot about these prelim fighters. I just looking at their previous fights, I see a few that might tinker over, maybe get 6 finishes, but I think it's gonna finish right at five. Honestly, man.
Yeah, I'm probably going under with this one too. I just don't think there's a lot of. I think we'll see some finishes, some weird finishes from dudes gassing out, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think this is going to be a really good card. Even with for the show, this is one of the more poorly put together cards that I've seen. But we'll jump into the main card breakdown. This probably won't take us too long. We're going to start with the main event, Manel Kape versus Asu Almabaev. Almabaev stepping in on relatively short notice after Brandon Royval had to pull out because of a concussion. How do you see this fight going down, Cody?
I like Manel Kape in this one. Just going over my notes here real quick. Manel Kape one is just a striking force going at five, just massive 5 strikes a minute, and he has an incredible accuracy rate. He's fast, great hands, got good speed on the feet. He does not like to go to the ground, so that's one thing that's with him. He likes to keep everything on the up on the feet. Um, and when he has moments, he likes to keep his jaw. He keeps his jaw open at moments, and he has to watch here with this. I don't know too much about
Almabaev.
Almabaev. Yeah, I was about to start to say his first name. But I don't know too much about Almabaev. I mean, he's only what 4 fights into the UFC, I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
4-0 in his UFC. But he's on a 17 fight win streak total in MMA, which is, I mean, it's pretty solid. The confidence is going to be massive there.
right.
He's going to be on a high note. I mean,
Yeah,
so
dude.
it's just and plus the dude can wrestle and he's a really good grappler. So that's one thing he likes to do is work the ground game, which is just cops just kryptonite. Um, and I don't know too much about a sub game. I don't know if he's really decent at it or not, but I know for a fact.
Gets
I,
power submissions.
let's say I know he's powerful on the ground, and I know he's good at ground control. So I know he's able to control the fight in that aspect and everything, or if he gets you up against the cage and stuff like that. But I think Manel Kape's going to walk away with this one. Like we said, he's just been the more he's he's been on a tear. I don't think Almabaev's seen somebody of this nature in his career yet. Coming up in these younger leagues and things like that, coming up through contender series up into the fight nights. I think Manel Kape's got this one, man.
It's tough to say he wouldn't. The odds makers agree with you. Like I said, it was supposed to be Royval. Royval got the concussion, and you said it. Cop's dynamic striker. He's accurate. He's high volume. He hits hard as hell. He's got unpredictable strikes as well. His knees, his flying knees, his elbows, his punches—they're all unpredictable. And the dude's cocky. He's flashy. I love it. And even though he doesn't like going to the ground, he does have great takedown defense, and he gets up really fast.
That's very true. He does have great takedown defense. He has a 78% takedown defense rate.
Yeah, and Almabaev, this dude's relentless. He's got a gas tank. He's always shooting the takedowns, kind of like Marab, different style, of course, and he's more dominant on the ground once he gets you there. His submissions are really good. I want Cop to win this. I want Cop to get the title fight, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I think Almabaev's going to win this. He could get outclassed. He could lights could be too bright for him, but I could also see him going out and just shooting takedowns the whole time, stuffing Cop's offense and just wrestle fucking him for 25 minutes or maybe submitting Cop when Cop's doing a big scramble to get up to the feet. I want Cop to win, but I'm always hesitant in these striker versus wrestler matchups. And Cop's won a bunch of them, but Almabaev is like a strict wrestler. He's got power in the hands too. He's got some knockout power, but he's going to be
I
going
know.
to takedowns. The overhands could be there though, because Cop does keep his hands low, especially against wrestlers to help with that takedown defense.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and he could just hold the ground with points and just gain and gain until the fourth. If he just gas him out, and then he has power in his right hand, so if he needs to throw a hook while his hands are down, he could catch him when they get back up when they're tired.
Yeah,
And like
fake
you said,
just throw
I
looping.
mean, the odds makers have this closer than what I thought it was going to be for a 2 week notice main event.
Yeah, I know.
Plus 180 and minus 220. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
I was actually expecting to see it be closer than that. I was expecting it to be like plus 150 minus 125 numbers. That's what I was expecting to see in this. But I digress and we move on to Cody Brundage taking on Julian Marquez. This fight is gonna fucking be donk city. Uh,
I literally have boring written on my notes here.
Brundage, yeah, I mean, his fights always seem to end in the first round, and they're not super entertaining. I mean, weird finishes, a couple of DQ wins, a couple of, I don't know, just weird finishes for the guy. Both of them are decent wrestlers. Marquez has a good submission game. He's got power in his one hand, but he's kind of sucked lately. Brundage kind of sucks lately and seems like he's just there for a paycheck. That's the vibe I get from Brundage. He's a better
Yeah,
wrestler, but he doesn't really use it. I don't
I
know.
this seems like a filler fight to me. I don't really. I mean, like you said, I'm looking at Marquez's stats here. He doesn't go to the ground. He doesn't like takedowns, but he has a good sub game. So he just has a really good ground defense. And then at the same time, he rarely strikes, but he does what he does. He's not greatly accurate. He's under 50% on his accuracy just on his striking alone. And
Yeah.
then and then I'm looking at Brundage's stats. Dude, Brundage doesn't even really throw strikes. So I'm like, dude, and I watched some of his tape, and it's so strategic about the way he does his fighting, and it doesn't go well because he's coming off one a no contest
Yeah.
just because he was getting the back of his head hit in, and then second he got his ass kicked by Bo Nickel in the second round submission. I mean, he's I don't really know what kind of fighter he is, and I don't really know what this fight's gonna be. I'm kind of just
Um,
like sleeping at the freaking horn at this, you know.
yeah, I think the move in this is hammer the under on this fight. Hammer it. Not because I think either of these guys have finishing power, but I don't think either are durable, and I don't think either. I think one of
What is
them
it,
has
two and a half?
1.5, I think.
Really? You don't even think it's gonna go under 1.5?
Yeah, because Brundage has a lot of first round fights, and but
Yeah, it's true. And Marquez is coming on 3 loss streak, and didn't two of them come early?
yeah, and he's older, chin's kind of cracked, so I don't know who's gonna win, but I don't think that it's. But we'll move on to the fight you're most pumped for. I'll let you take this away with Nazrat Hakparas taking on Esteban Ribovitz.
So with Nasrat being the southpaw fighter here with a 3-inch reach advantage, dude, coming in at like what a plus 240 underdog. Kind of crazy because this fight can go either way. This is a coin flip because these dudes are both strikers, and it can be a knockout either way. Um, I honestly, this is one of my favorite fights in the entire card. Um, not a lot of takedowns between these two guys. Not a lot of ground game action. A little bit of grappling. They like to work the cage and use their elbows and their knees against the cage and things like that. Try to wear you down, put some weight on you and stuff. But it's mainly just boxing, kickboxing. You know,
Yeah,
just throwing haymakers, getting jabs in, body shots, kicks, and I'm excited for this one. I think this is going to be fun.
yeah, I think it's going to be fun. You know, you got Ribovitz coming off his fight of the year with Daniel Zellhuber at the Sphere, and Nazrat Hakparas is slowly putting something together there. But I think it's a tale of two strikers because while they're both strikers and they both like to keep it on the feet, they're complete opposites in the way they strike. You got Ribovitz, who he can work Muay Thai on the cage and elbows and knees and stuff, but he prefers to stay at range, work his kicks and his boxing. Nazareth Hakparas is going to want to get in the clinch and dirty box you, work the body, tire you out, just drag on you, always be attached to you, but still boxing you just in your face the whole time. So if Hakparas can implement that game plan and pressure Rebovitz, hold him up against the cage, dirty box him, just out pressure him, out volume, he could definitely get this win. But Rebovitz also is just deadly. He's got nasty kicks, and the dude's durable. You watch that Zell Huber fight. I mean, durable and he throws when he's getting hurt.
No,
I'm
I completely agree with you. And plus,
definitely,
also, Rijovic is also the more active fighter here.
yeah,
Um, I think Hasburat's only had what 3 fights in the last since 2023, if that, or is it
yeah.
roughly that?
He hasn't fought a whole lot lately.
And Ribovic, I think, had 4 in the last 15 months.
Yeah,
So he's been way more active, and he's been on a hot streak. Like you said, he just had that massive fight against Daniel Zellhuber. Just he's on an absolute freaking tear. Like you say, he likes to keep his distance. Um, and I also see him as way more aggressive in this one as well, just just by his just nature. With the I don't really know what I was going to go with there. I kind of lost where I was going, but I guess kind of with the style, like you say, with the Muay Thai and with his kicks, um, I just see this going a lot more in Rebovic's favor. I want to say it's a coin toss. I like has Haxbrats in this a lot. I really do.
I'm with you. I like hack press, but if Ribovitz keeps it at range, it's Ribovitz.
Dude, I know, dude.
It's just that style's not hard to implement when, especially if you can do it early and kind of tire out the arms and the legs and do the grappling up against the cage you wear on them, get the blood flowing in the arms and they get heavy. It could definitely go to hack press, but Ribovitz, if like we said, if he stays at range, it's gold for him. But it's tough to do in the small UFC Apex cage. Also, it's 25 foot instead of 30, which is like 80% smaller or 40% smaller.
That's
When
very true.
so yeah, it's gonna be a good fight though. That is one I'm very excited for. The other one that I'm very excited for, the next one, Hyder Emil taking on William Gomi. Cannot fucking wait. Hyder Emil, dude's
Yeah,
old.
you've been pumped for this one.
Dude's old. He gets faded in every fight, and he's undefeated. 2025 is not the year for undefeated fighters at all. Undefeated fighters are losing their O's left and right. And Nurmagomedov, you got Peyton Talbot. Last week we had I forget the guy's name, but we've had a lot of undefeated fighters losing.
Julius Walker lost me.
That's who it was. So undefeated, not the year for undefeated fighters in the UFC, and that's not good for Hyder Emil, who's coming in as a dog against William Gomi, older, but Gomi's coming in, 3 fight win streak of his own. They're all split decisions. This dude's a patient kickboxer that wants to keep you at range. He doesn't want to mix it up, and Emil's just gonna get in your face and swing a million punches until you go down. That really benefits him in a smaller cage, just like what I said for the last fight with hack press. For Emil benefits him in the smaller cage as well because him running Gomi down, Gomi's not going to have as much room to run. Now we could see Gomi just try to stay on the outside with jabs and deep kicks and make it a boring fight and do it that way. We could also see him set up something beautiful from the outside and get a knockout that way. But I just think that Gomi's 3 fight win streak is kind of overinflated right now with them all being split decisions. The Joe Anderson Brito fight was super close, and Emil is just fate. They don't believe in this guy, and he goes out there and he doesn't have the most skills and he doesn't have the most anything, but he puts it on you and he's in your face and he people crack under his pressure. And I really like Emil in this. 11 0. This old man's going to break the trend and stay undefeated in 2025.
I kind of like your pick there too, Matt, because like my thing is my number one comment under Gomi is must combat the early pace. And I just don't think he's going to be able to do it because nobody's been able to do it yet.
Right.
And what makes him, and I think he's the same level as competition that he's been basically fighting coming into the UFC in the coming up through the contender series to these fight nights. He's not fighting a highly ranked fighter. So, what are these guys? Are they in the lightweight or bantamweight?
I think they're featherweight, 145.
Featherweight. Oh, that's right. They are 145s because he's just a short guy. They're 5'9", I think they are. They're short as hell.
5'9", and Emil's probably shorter because
Yeah, 5'7", 5'8". They're short. They're short as hell, guys. I remember looking at their freaking biometrics, and I'm looking at the freaking. I'm looking at the stats that I have here, and the strikes per minute just for Hyder and compared to freaking Gomi is just astronomical. So it just shows you the motor that Emil runs with.
yeah.
And I mean, I don't really know here. I mean, it's pretty simple. I don't see why Gomi's the favorite. I mean, I know 14-2 with the experience that he has, but
11 0,
I
baby.
just 11-0. I just don't understand why people don't understand the records here because I know it's younger. What the lower leagues, I get the competition, but they're there for a reason.
Less miles on the tire for Emil. He's 34, but he only has 10 or 11 fights.
I know he's only been professionally fighting for what 6 years, something like that.
Not a super long time. So I like Emil here. I just think that he's gonna put it on him. But if Gomi does win, it's unless he gets a spectacular outside knockout, it's not gonna be a war that Gomi wins. It's gonna be picking him apart from the outside for 15 minutes probably, or for the second 2 rounds after Emil gets tired. But Emil's pushed the pace into the second round as well. So we'll move on. We'll get to the Austin Lane Pinto fight that got added at the last second in just a second. to the main event or to the main card, but Danny Barlow versus Sam Patterson. We got a nasty striker versus a good jiu-jitsu guy in Patterson. Patterson's tall as shit. Used to be 155, got knocked out a bunch and moved up to 170. Southpaw versus orthodox, right versus left. You're going to be looking at left hands and hooks. And Danny Barlow's nickname is the left hand god. That left hand is going to connect in this. Patterson has the grappling advantage most likely. He's got the long limbs. He can lock up a submission. But when you're fighting in left hand versus right hand, you're throwing twos and threes. And when you're two for Danny Barlow, the left hander, is this nasty, just laser left hand down the center. And you're Sam Patterson, who's been knocked out before, granted at lighter weights. I think Barlow's got the power to do it. They don't call him that for no reason, and he's had his tough fight in the UFC. He's gonna start to kind of take a run away with the UFC. I think he'll get into his own. But don't forget, 2025 is not the year for undefeated fighters, Cody. Not the year
Oh,
for undefeated fighters. And Danny Barlow himself happens to be an undefeated fighter.
it's 26, 20. This fight is on what, March the 1st?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So to start the third month of the year, to start the new trend, we're getting rid of these 2 months of past defeated losers, you know. We're going to get rid of those. We're going to start with, dude, Danny Barlow's going to win this. Let's be honest. He's a young up and comer. He's 3-0 in the UFC so far. Like you said, that left hook is going to be insanely hard to stop from Sam Patterson. Um, my biggest note right here I have on Sam Patterson, chin is a liability. The dude has kind of been proven in his last few fights that it's pretty easy to get to his chin. He doesn't have very good blocking skills. Um, he doesn't even have the reach advantage in this fight. Danny Barlow's got it's not much, but it's a 1 inch reach. But hey, that 1 inch can make a difference if he wants to edge up and get around you on a hook or an uppercut, dude. It can make that big of a difference. And he's got good footwork. He's got great speed with his hands. I'm talking Barlow here. I'm not talking Patterson. He's got great speed and great footwork. Um, and I just think, like you said, right versus left, I just think that left hand's going to be the difference maker here because Sam Patterson hasn't been able to stop it in the last few fights. He, like you said, even if it was at the lower weights going up in the division, I still don't see putting on the weight being able to help your chin. I mean,
Not
plus
as
it's not going to help, and it's not going to help his stamina out either.
no, and well, it might help his stamina if he was cutting a bunch of weight, but I don't think it's gonna matter in this one because like you said, his chin, maybe the chin would be better without cutting weight as well, but against a guy like Danny Barlow, who's gonna knock you out with that left hand, like you said, it's money right there. So we got one more undefeated fighter fighting on this card. We got I forget his first name now. I didn't write it down because it got added last second. But Pinto versus Austin Lane. Watched film on Pinto coming in to this, and he's kind of not that great. He's got power in his hands. He's got good defense, but he doesn't seem to really want to engage. He doesn't want to stay in there with the firefight. He'll move out of the way of punches, which isn't a bad thing, but he'll kind of walk away from them. Austin Lane's a beast athlete, shouldn't say wrestler, because he's not really a wrestler. He is coming off a win against Robelis to Spain, where he wrestled him for 15 minutes, but everybody wrestles Robelis to Spain to beat him because he's a nasty striker. 13-second knockouts, 5-second karate combat knockouts. The guy's nasty. But Austin Lane's not very good, I don't think. He's going to have the height advantage. They're going to be similar in reach. I think 80 inches for Pinto on the arms. But I just think he's a huge favorite. I don't think Austin Lane's very good at all. I'm not saying Pinto's good, but I just think he'll be able to catch him on the chin and crack him and put him out. But if Austin Lane's turned into a wrestler, then he might do what he did against Robelis of Spain and cashes another big dog. Not pumped for this fight. They could have not added to this. I wish they would have put Chape Mariscal on it versus Ricardo Ramos. That would have been a lot better on the main card, I think. But is what it is. Do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, who gives a shit about
No,
Donkey?
the book speak for itself. I looked into this fight for a split second whenever it just got added. Um, I have this. If you're getting into it, under 1.5 rounds. That's all I'm gonna have on it. Um, I think Pito's gonna get him. I think it's gonna be a TKO within the first 7 minutes.
I almost pulled the trigger on 1.5, but then I thought donkey heavyweights, they could just have a really ugly 15-minute fight where neither guy ends up being good. So I ended up being too scared too because the over on heavyweights seems to hit a lot anymore. But
We've seen that the last couple weeks. Yeah.
Pinto has power, but I mean, just not big on it. So we got through the main card. We got through the prelims on every other card for this. What they're giving us. This would be a prelim anywhere else, and bad prelims on a pay-per-view. But I digress once again. We're gonna move on to our bets. Cody, we'll have you go first since I took home the cheddar last week. How'd you spread your $1,000 bets this week?
It's a parlay week for me, bub, because like you said, this card is booty cheeks and it is really hard to touch. So I have one singular bet. It is the upset bet. Hack Paras money line at plus. Oh, I didn't write it down.
Plus
It's
two.
over here. It's plus 240. Yes. So I put 150 on it. It would bring me 315. So total of 465.
Okay.
The next one is prelim parlay here. I got JJ Aldrich money line at minus 200. I got Chepe Mariscal
Money line.
money line at minus 480. Just a little salt onto it. But then I got Danny Silva money line at minus 280. I think that's gonna be a little. I think that's gonna be a fun fight.
Yeah.
I kind of like Danny Silva, and that just comes together as a plus 167 total for a three-legger. Don't want to get too complicated. Don't want to add too much. Don't want to add too little. 350 brings me home 586 for a total grossed out 936.
Okay.
And then I got one more for the main card. I got Cop minus 235 on the money line. I know it's risky, but I'm gonna go with Cop.
If you like the pick though, I last year I ran away from anything that was over minus 200 and I did good until the end of the year and I got kind of killed. And this year I've been a lot more open to low profits on high. Didn't do it as much this week, but I've been a lot more open to low profits on weird numbers where I just felt super confident even if the odds makers aren't giving it to me, at least I know I'm coming home with something.
Right. And that's where I'm just like, I think Cop's he's on the tear right now. I think he's going to be the fighter that comes out on top on this one. So I'm going to go Cop money line.
500.
Nope. It is 500, but I got Brundage money line.
Oh, you
It's another parlay. It's a main card parlay now. I got Cop money line, Brundage money line at plus 114, and I got Pinto money line at minus 530. Bring me out to plus 262. 500 is $1,313 to bring it to $1,813 grossed on that slip.
It's a nasty slip.
I think Cody Brundage can come away with it. I don't know why, but I think
Hey,
with
that's a good
Mark,
shot. I don't think Marquez is very good. I think that Cody
uh,
Brown can definitely come away with it. So my bets went the opposite way with you for the main event. We got Almabaev money line 150 at plus 180 pays out 420 total. So we're getting 270 profit there. My boy Charles Energy Johnson got him money line 150 at minus 115 pays us out 130 profit 280 total. Got Hyder Emil versus William Gomi under 2.5 plus 180. We're going $200 turns into 560.
okay,
Brundage Marquez under 1.5 $100 gets us 169 at minus 145.
spread out this week.
Yeah, that's only $600 on those four bets so far. But we only have five this week. Hyder Emil's going home with it. Big dog, $400 gets us 1056. Give me your money, baby. Yeah, I don't know how good of a bet it is, but I got a big enough lead that if these parlays don't hit, I'm happy.
I'd say my main card hits. You're going to be starting to sweat this next week, Matt. Getting ready for
Now,
313.
so big if your main card hits. I mean, if everything on mine hits, I guess I'll be all right. But if your main card hits, I am just effed. But that's what we got for you today. That's the main card breakdown. This card's gonna It sucks on paper. It might suck, but we're gonna watch it because last week I wasn't expecting much from UFC Seattle. I thought the card looked decent, even with everything that fell out, but it could have ended up being a dud, and it was the exact opposite. 7 finishes on the prelims, 8 on the card. It was a good fucking card. So that's what we got for you. I'm Matt with Blood and Beer. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the fights. Cody, thank you for tuning in, joining me as always on Wednesdays as we break down the UFC main event for the fight nights. We'll see you next week. I'll get with you on Sunday. We're gonna recap the fight night that is. It's gonna be a short one, I'm sure, because there's not a lot to gain for anybody here other than Manel Kape. But that's what I got for you. Thank you for tuning in, sticking with us for the whole show. Longer than I thought. But Cody, thank you for sticking with me. You have a great night. I'll have a great night. You guys have a great night.